capable to throttle the entire nations burning with the longing of freedom in the sea of blood. Later, it became known that the hired assassins gathered to occupy Baku were deprived from all the humane feelings several days before, that by means of psychological propaganda and the drug substances. The removal of the military families from Baku in advance, rumors about the Russians are pressed in Azerbaijan, were aimed at distracting the world community's attention from the actual reasons of the bloody crime committed. They were hired. They are not soldiers. There are no such soldiers, no such Russian soldiers. The hired soldiers kill their children and women. Gorbachev, God damn you. I curse you on behalf of Russians living in Azerbaijan. A fight was on in the city. In the course of it, the victims would fall down every now and then. Innocent victims. This was the attitude observed at the combined troop fight in the conditions of a city. The coroner tells the event ostensibly took in some strange country not in the Soviet Union. The Soviet army, not begrudging bullets at the land and sea fights from the invented enemy, had coached lots of such large-scale military operations. About 10-15 minutes after the tanks passed from here, citizens informed us that one of those APCs overrode one VAS 2101-0510 Agu numbered car. When the armored personnel carrier was passing from here, we wrote down its number. It was 541 plus 567. The hired assassins, having been charged to murder the peaceful population and destroy and ruin everything on their way, did not have a mercy on anybody. The car carrying Azerbaijani scientists to work in Sumgayit failed to escape from the furious tank. Interestingly, how will the coroner assess this fact? I know this fact. In this case, we have a fact of typical road transport accident. When a truce is pronounced, the politicians of big states stuff their ears with cotton. Though so far nobody is hearing the bitter screams, the mighty God hears them. Dear sisters and brothers, it's almost a week that I am in Baku, and the things I have seen, felt and heard cannot be observed indifferently. Particularly today, I'm looking at these photos. I see people who were victims of a crime. The shock we are feeling today must be delivered to the entire Soviet people. The Soviet people must know what is going on in one of the brother republics of our country. At a time when our borders were burning in fires, the democratic forces of the nation, Islamic fundamentalists, extremists, and the enemies of the Soviet power were announced in accordance with the sacred policies. It was Moscow, KGB, who organized the Armenian slaughter in Azerbaijan. They brought troops into Azerbaijan and massacred the people. Let the whole world know this. Now they are hiding the corpses. They are hiding them so that the world does not know about it. They say 30,000 Azerbaijanis were murdered. Remaining faithful to its violence and respond policy up to the end, the center ignored the decree of Azerbaijan Supreme Soviet concerning the annulment of the emergency state. The perestroika, promising the bright future and the happiness to the peoples, turned into a political game, throwing the country into the whirlpool of the bloody tragedies. The constitutional laws of the USSR and Azerbaijan SSR were broken in the rudest manner. The republic's sovereignty was trampled into a most insolent way, without any, even a formal coordination with the republic's ruling authorities. This action was prepared surreptitiously, treacherously and cunningly under the shabby accompaniment of the deceitful statements of many high-rank officials who calmed down the people of Azerbaijan and lauded the alertness of its intelligentsia and the deputy corps. The troops were entered into the territory of own country, and inevitable victims were long before taken into consideration because several hours before the aggression, free beds were prepared in the city hospitals and the medical staff was mobilized. So notifying the country's Supreme Soviet of this is not even considered necessary, not to mention receiving its agreement to such a responsible step.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا
Now, at this moment, we are having pretty hard times. We are turning to Gorbachev on behalf of the Muslims and myself. We also want to deliver this to the United Nations, all the Muslims in Arabian states by different ways. Moscow, Kremlin. To the chairman of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR, Gorbachev. However my words are, they cannot deliver all the sorrow of the people of Azerbaijan, its endless grief, which has settled forever in millions of hearts. The Azerbaijani people, whose opinion and sorrow I'm expressing, reject the provocative charge against it that ostensibly served as a reason for the entry of troops with indignation and contempt. You are well aware, in particular from my words, that the Islamic clergy of Transcaucasus conceded and considers it inadmissible to use the religious ideas in the political struggle and international conflicts. You know it well that even at the most strained periods in the region, Islam always called for sense, peace and good neighborly relations. The more invidious is the statement of the Islamic factor presented as the destabilizing element. It's quite evident that it pursued a pretty certain end to set the Muslims against Christians, which would attach even a more severe character to the conflict. I dare to assure you that we will do everything to bring the whole truth to the world community, for the party, with its leadership not distilling the passions, and instead exasperating it pursuing its imperial goals, the country, which has turned an army into the killers of its own fellow citizens, the country, where a man has more rights to death than to a decent life, deserves disgrace. The shots in Baku are the shots on living human hearts. They are the shots which have killed the last hope for perestroika in millions of people. By entering the punitive troops into Baku, where they behave like occupants, you discredited the Soviet power, confirming that the notions like sovereignty and dignity of peoples are aligned and inapprehensible to it. You have completely discredited yourself as a political figure, proving your incapability as the head of state. The myth about you as a fighter of peace has also evaporated. Another point is completely obvious. No nation, including the Azerbaijani, should be talked to in the language of weapons. This may continue for 10 days or 10 years, as it is in Afghanistan, but sooner or later, the justice will triumph. With the help of Almighty Allah, despite of everything, it will also triumph in Azerbaijan, for the sake of which the sons and daughters of my nation gave up their lives, slain by bullets of the Soviet soldiers. challenges. With a faith in this, I turn my prayers to the mighty Creator, asking for the eternal grace over the souls of the innocent victims and a deserving retribution for their murderers. Sheikhul Islam Allah Shukr Pashzadeh, Chairman of the Cleric Administration of the Muslims of Transcaucasia, City of Baku. The January 20, 1990 tragedy of Azerbaijani people who have stepped onto a long and painful but honorable path of freedom by the will of time is engraved into the pages of the history.
Burada yolum oldu ten, var mı bu yoldan öten? Bu dünyada şirin şey, bir anadır, bir vətən.
The poems, which express the big sorrow of Azerbaijani people, are sounding.
Analar yanar ağlar, günlerin sanar ağlar, döner göy göyerçine, yollara qonar ağlar. Eləmi qarasına, qaşların qarasına, dur anan qurban olsun ürəyinin yarasına. Ay nədən küldü getdi, gecəni böldü, getdi, düşmən aman vermədi, cavanlar öldü, getdi. Durna sanınla keçər, ötər sanınla keçər, yiğit vətən yolunda, ölər canından keçər. Sanda var qüvvətin, arzun var, olsun mətin. El yolunda baş qoyan, qazanar el hörməti.
Stand up before the sacred souls of the sons of motherland who became martyrs on the path leading to the liberty. Stand up.
Arzum